across and pitched himself into the tyre barriers, ending up in a pretty sizable incident. Vasiliev fortunately was okay and was able to walk away, but that was the end of the run for that Mercedes SLS. They've had to get a new one for the race here in Baku. Zolder was the Russian GT team's debut in the Blancpain Sprint Series, and it was a shame it ended that way for Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma. While Basseng and Ortelli battled, the race leader was out of the race. Peter Cox had come in to hand over to Nicky Katzberg, but they couldn't get the rear of the car jacked up, meaning they were out of the race. That allowed Max Buch and Max Goetz to take the lead. After a great in-lap from Buch, Goetz was now stretching his advantage. Zanardi skipped across the chicane as he tried to keep up with the Vita for One BMW, but it was race victory from 6th on the grid for Max Buch and Max Goetz. With Bleekemolen and Procek crossing the line in 2nd place, it meant that Goetz's championship lead extended to 27 points heading into the final round, and a 3rd place for Laurens Vanthoor and Cesar Ramos, their best main race performance of the season so far. But the gap at the top of the championship is 27 points, and things are looking good for Max Goetz as he comes into the final race of the season. Max Buch is currently leading the overall Blancpain GT series, but one man that can stop him in that is Laurens Vanthoor for WRT Audi.
This year so far, in general, has been good. We won the endurance title in the 24 Hours of Spa. The sprint series has been a bit disappointing because we've had the speed all year with 3 pole positions and 3 wins on Saturday, but for some reason each time on Sunday it doesn't want to work out. I can still win the main GT series championship and as well the team, so I think that's the thing we should work for.
Kevin Estra's performance here last season for Hexis meant that he became a McLaren Works driver. This year he's back again with Boutsen-Gignon.
It was my first race with the McLaren and it went really well. We did a podium with Hexis, so I'm really happy to be here. I really like this city track with Boutsen and think we should be pretty strong with Rob again. We are aiming on the podium or even a victory, but I think that's the case for 20 cars here, so it's going to be hard, but we are aiming for a good position for sure.
There are newcomers to the Brazilian BMW squad this weekend. Twins Ricardo and Rodrigo Sperafico will be in the number 20 BMW.
Since 2 years ago, we have seen for this championship, and we have a 100% Brazilian team, so it's a pleasure to be here. They improved the track, they caught some chicanes, and now it's much faster than last year, so it will be interesting.
Track Speed Porsche raced here in the season finale last year, and they're back, this time with Norbert Siedler and experienced GT racer Richard Westbrook.
Jumped at the chance. I mean, it's street circuit, new country, amazing grid. I don't know what to expect. Obviously there's BOP and GT3. I don't know if it's going to suit the Porsche, suit the Audi, suit the BMW, who knows. But it's a driver's circuit, so we'll give it some beans.
The Callaway team are back with 2 Corvettes. They entered Baku last year, where it was a difficult event for Daniel Kielwitz.
It's nice to be back here. We were last year also, unfortunately not a good end for us. But yeah, it's great to be back here with the Corvette. Never seen such a strong grid here. It's really tough. It's a lot of platinum and gold drivers. The track layout is very good for our car, I think. And I hope that we will have a great race.
Vincent Abril and Mateusz Lasowski are currently leading the Silver Cup with a comfortable margin, and they know that they've got to be sensible to get the job done.
Basically, we have to be intelligent and finish, and I think that's going to be the key, because we saw last year there was a couple of crashes. We're in the best position possible. We have 24 points leading, so we have to be smart in the testing and in the qualifying not to crash the car, and basically finish in a good position. We're fully focused for the Silver Cup, and hopefully we get the title.
Chasing the Audis down in the lead of the Silver Cup is the 34 Royale BMW of Stefano Colombo and David Fuminelli.
The championship is still open. Unfortunately in Zolder we didn't have a lucky weekend, so I think that here we need a bit more luck to try to win the championship. We have to hope that something happened to number 4 Audi, but we'll try our best, try to be in the best position we could, and let's hope for something good.
Leading the Pro Cup standings into the final race is Maximilian Goetz. He's got a comfortable margin, but he knows there's no room for error.
It's never easy, you know, it's a new track for me. All of them, they are here, try to push like hell. I have to survive practice qualifying and the race. I need only 7 points to win the championship against Bleekemolen, Vanthoor, Rust, all these drivers. They are not slow, they are the best ones in the world in GT racing. And if I win, it's really amazing for me.
The only car that can stop Max Goetz is the 28 Grasser Racing Lamborghini of Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Procek.
I think it will be very difficult. I'm always more realistic than a dreamer, so we just concentrate on the race. I would say a big surprise from the beginning on that I think it was just Nogaro where we was not on the podium. With the Lambo, with Chiron, it was very successful, a nice year. Everybody knows that this is a gamble here. We will see on Sunday.
And now we're here in Baku, where the city is embracing GT racing. Good morning and welcome to Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, for the final qualifying race of the season in the Blancpain Sprint Series. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is John Watson. Down in the pits, we've got David Addison on a pleasant morning in Azerbaijan, 14.5 degrees the air temperature, 16.2 degrees the track temperature. And John, the circuit's changed a bit from last season, but it's still a quick street circuit.
Yes, it's a change for the better in my opinion, because we've got rid of one of the very tight chicanes and there's a more natural flow to the racetrack, and the climb back up to the what turned out to be rather notorious turn 13 in qualifying for this sprint race yesterday is a cracker.
And so it's the way we are looking going into the final weekend of the season in the championship is that Max Goetz is leading. He has a 27-point advantage. He can win the championship in the race today. We'll go through the who's and how's and whys in a few moments' time. Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Procik are the only men who can stop him taking the title. And this is the grid forming up. On the front row, it's Stefan Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. Then we've got Jeroen Bleekemolen there, starting third on the grid. Their championship rivals are on the left here. In sixth position, Maximilian Goetz in the HTP car, alongside Andy Soucek in the Aston Martin. A lot of strong new entries for the weekend. On that row, there's two of them. Christopher Mies and Marco Holzer starting the Prosperia Abt Racing Audi and the Schutz Motorsport Porsche. Alex Zanardi there on the right-hand side. He could only qualify 14th on the grid. And this is a very strong field of 28 cars. We had two cars unfortunately having to withdraw after accidents and problems yesterday, and that's the number 5 Phoenix Audi and the 27 Grasser Racing Lamborghini. But all the way around this final turn 13, you'll see the cars that then had damage yesterday. These two cars were put to the back of the grid, the 177 car of Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma, because they put the wrong drivers out in the wrong session, and the 76 BMW just to the left there were also put to the back of the grid because they downloaded data during Q1, which was not allowed. A marshal walked past, saw them with a USB stick plugged into the car and said, "Oh, can't do that. Back of the grid, my son."
A lot of work went on in the garages overnight, particularly on the number 4 car, the WRT Audi of Vincent Abril, who had a massive accident in the middle of turn 13 in the first of the 3 qualifying sessions on Saturday afternoon. The team have literally worked through the night and they've done a stunning job to get that car repaired. You look at the car, you wouldn't realize this is the very same car that we saw being craned away, looking like it was ready for the biffer bin.
Absolutely. So the cars winding their way through the first chicane. Now then, let's have a look at the grid for the final qualifying race of the season. Pole position, Stefan Ortelli. Alongside him, a WRT lockout, Laurens Vanthoor. The second row of the grid sees Jeroen Bleekemolen looking strong to keep himself in the championship hunt going into the final race of the season. Frederik Vervisch alongside in the Boots and Gini on McLaren. Then it's Andy Soucek, 5th on the grid. Max Buch starting the HTP Mercedes in 6th position. Christopher Mies and Marco Holzer in 7th and 8th position in 2 of our Baku special entries. 9th place is the Sperfico twins, just in front of Norbert Siedler in the track speed Porsche. 11th place on the grid. Alvaro Parent, great qualifying from him in the Bitec McLaren. He's just in front of Marcus Winkelhock. 13th on the grid is Alex Zanardi, ahead of his teammate Stefano Colombo. Those two making it through until Q3 yesterday. 15th on the grid for Giorgio Pantano. Steph Dusseldorp starts 16th in that HDP Mercedes that's always strong in the race. Andreas Simonsen in a new entry from Zach Speed. He starts 17th, just in front of the other Boots and Ginion McLaren of Kevin Estra. Enzo Eade and Joe Osborne will start in 19th and 20th positions. 21st on the grid will be Matthias Stumpf. Then we've got Wirth and Kilvitz in their Callaway Corvette starting 22nd. Along behind them on the grid directly will be their teammates Barth and Jan. Then it's Luca Stoltz and Luca Wolf in 23rd position. Benji Hetherington and Mateusz Lazowski are both in cars that had accidents yesterday and had to be repaired. And Dominic Baumann and Marco Asma were moved to the back of the grid for regulatory infringements. Coming down towards the hairpin, John, this is another change to the circuit that, from last year.
Yes, they come out of turn 9. Last year there was a chicane which effectively came a straight line, but now that's been removed. The hairpin's been brought closer to turn 9. It's a much tighter corner, a much better corner, so it's the traditional in 180 degrees exit up the hill, and then from that point you come up to what is turn 11 and 12, which is literally little more than almost a straight line through a chicane. That then leads into a very quick turn 13. The exit speed of turn 13 is about 220 kilometers per hour, and you're gathering speed all the way through. Here is that little quick left and right. In qualifying, most were straight lining at Cesar Ramos, just having a little wry smile as we go through some of the personalities in the pits.
So through the final chicane they come, then they will start to line up in 2x2. On board with the 84 car, that's the car that could win the championship today. It's the 84 versus the 28 as we go green in Baku for the final round of the season. The qualifying race is underway. It's Stefan Ortelli on pole position as they head down towards the first corner, and it's Ortelli in the lead at the first chicane. Frederic Verviche has to skip across. It's a good start from the Aston Martin as well. A couple of the cars skipping across at turn 1. They're going to have to be careful that they didn't gain too much of an advantage. A challenge on the inside from Maximilian Buch. He's going to go past Verviche as they come down into the hairpin of turn 3, but it's the WRT Audis that are pulling away in the lead. Ortelli ahead of Vanthor, Bleekemolen in third. We go on board now with Max Buch, and it looks as though he's just lost out to one of the McLarens. Is that the Bitec car as they come down towards the hairpin of the right-hander?
And also Andy Suchek, good start for the beach round Aston Martin. It's made up a position.
Oh, and there's contact. The Zach Speed car has been hit from behind and off and into the barrier. That is Dominic Baumann in the 76 car, and that is going to unfortunately bring out the safety car. I'd have thought it was the Zach Speed Mercedes that went into the side of Baumann. No, sorry, the second HTP Mercedes that went into the side of Baumann. Safety car is deployed after it all kicked off there at the right-hander of turn 4 as they started to go into the Old Town, and there's a spin for Matthias Stumpf as well. That is up at turn 8, so a couple of incidents now to get rid of.
Well, it was always going to be a tight opening lap. Turn 4 is a new corner on this revised circuit, and there we see the outcome. Dominic Baumann's BMW absolutely, just the front of the car and the side of the car, heavy damage. That was a spin, and maybe an assisted spin, we couldn't tell. It's actually reversing backwards into the face of another car coming. So safety car has been deployed. We saw a number of cars, of more than about 5 or 6 cars, actually went through the chicane at turns 1 and 2. Now the BMW is trying to get itself sorted out. You've got cars that have gone down the escape road. That's the Joe Osborne car trying to get itself sorted out. Here we see again.
It's in here. Baumann goes to the inside line and then
hits the Zach
No, that's
Speed.
the 888 BMW. The 888 BMW hits the Zach Speed. The 888 then hits the other Mercedes, which pitches Dominic Baumann into the wall. So unfortunately, Joe Osborne taking a dislike to SLS's, and it ended up with a BMW getting knocked out. And let's see here. Oh, so that might have been an assist. I can only think that was an assist there for Matthias Stumpf to spin, because that's, you couldn't spin into that position, could you?
Well, it was most likely going to be contact. Everybody was bunched together, and if you're just very late on your brakes, you tap the BMW. It takes very little. Tires are still cold. Track temperature is low there. The BMW has now got itself finally sorted out and will make its way around to join the rear of the safety car train. And Sferafico brothers, twins, somewhat disappointed, and what a messy start here in turn 4. It is a pinch point on the circuit, but if you try and go 3 abreast into a piece of, well, in fact, what they've done, they're sending the cars. This is part of the escape plan for anybody who might have overshot the entry to turn 4. They weren't allowed to rotate and drive against the flow of traffic. They were being required to drive up what is this dual carriageway to where corner 8 rejoins the dual carriageway, and at that point you were going to be held for up to 30 seconds to make sure that you didn't gain any advantage, or that the track was clear of cars coming down from turn 7 into turn 8. So while they clear the track sensibly, they just are forcing the cars to go down this escape road per se, and then they'll rejoin it at 8. There is the 85 car of Steph Dusseldorp, and yes, heavy front damage to that car.
Yep, so that's a real shame, but we've seen that Dominic Baumann is out of the race. His teammate Jens Klingmann was super fast yesterday. Now he's with David Addison.
Jens Klingmann, really bad start to the race. How did you see it?
Yeah, we were starting from the back after we got disqualified yesterday, so we knew, okay, we had to take some risk in the end, and now it was just unlucky. He already overtook some cars in the end, but yeah, there was no chance for him to avoid this accident. There was Mercedes spun into him, and now he crashed. But I think the car is damaged quite heavily, but I hope we can fix it for the main race, and then we have a second chance. But now we wanted to overtake some cars for the main race and then have a better starting position. But now in the end, I hope we can drive still in the main race.
Thank you.
And there is the car that they hope they can drive in the main race.
What they're trying to do there is just, they've been mopping up fluids, whether that's water and oil or one of the two. But that's one of the issues. They've got to get the vehicle that's going to pick that car up, because it isn't going to be able to be pushed away. So that's going to be a number of laps, I suspect, behind the safety car until we can get this race back underway. We're already 5 minutes into it and we've not had one complete lap without having a safety car intervention. There is the damage to the right front. Can be repaired. It's not major damage, but it's just, you know, always on the opening lap, everybody thinks they can win a race.
So let's have a little look then at the situation we're in. Stefan Ortelli still leads the way from pole position. Laurens Vanthoor is in second place. Bleekemolen's in third. Andy Soucek then managed to get past Frederik Vervisch and up into fourth position. So Vervisch has dropped to fifth. Sixth place is Maximilian Buch. So the top 6 pretty much in the same order. Then we've got Christopher Mies in 7th place. The top 6 score points in this qualifying race, and it means that if Buch and Goetz finish ahead of Bleekemolen and Procik, they will win the championship. As it stands right now, with the 28 car finishing 3rd, Buch and Goetz need to finish in 5th if they are to win the championship today, and they're currently in 6th position.
What we have to hopefully the race director will sort out is a number of cars, I think 5 or 6 at least, shortcut the chicane at turns 1 and 2, and they may have made up positions. They will have to then be put back into order, because they would have a benefit by being able to have taken those positions for those cars that were going correctly through turns 1 and 2. So that's got to be resolved as well.
We can now hear from Steph Dusseldorp after getting involved in that accident. Let's find out what he thought. He's with David Addison.
Steph Dusseldorp, big damage. How did you see it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. I got caught from behind. Everyone was very slow in corner 4 because it is very narrow, and some guys from behind think they can do a qualification lap or something. Someone crashed, tapped me from behind, and then I got caught in the front by, I think it was a BMW, the guy who's in the wall. And yeah, race over, and good results, no more chance, and hopefully they can repair for the main race. But I don't know what's on the people's head from behind. You know, they ruined their own race and everyone's race now as well. So yeah, it's terrible.
Bad luck. Thank you.
It's that 888 BMW that, yeah, hit both Mercedes, because Osborne was flying down the inside into the right-hander of turn 4. He's entitled to obviously go for moves down at the start there. There's Olivier Panis, winner of the 1996 Monaco Grand Prix, and he is here as part of, well, he sort of helps Vincent Abril in his career. And just a note on that. So, well, let's have a look at some start replays then. It was a good start from Stefan Ortelli. Soucek did well to get up into 4th place, but that was because down at turn 1, Vervisch was the first of the drivers to skip across the chicane, and as a result, he lost position. So watch the McLaren of Vervisch there, the black and orange one. He decides to bail out of it, and as a result, ended up losing places.
Yes, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars shortcut the chicane. Some of them have gained position, some of them have lost because of those that were going correctly through the chicane. Whether that caused what ended up being the pinch point going into turn 4, there's the aerial view of it. You see Vavish going through, and then other cars they decide, well, it's easier just to skip through. Now, have they made up positions or not? Of course, some of those cars were the very cars that then became involved in the incident going into turn 4.
Yeah, Dominic Baumann was one that skipped right across, and then I don't know how Baumann managed to get in front of the people he was racing with, because he's in that black BMW on the right-hand side, and he goes to the outside of turn 3 and just drives around the outside of everyone. That's very, very impressive from Dominic Baumann. And then there's a real pinch in the middle of the pack there.
Yeah, it's almost that they're tripping over one another as they come out of turn 3. Then there's this acceleration up to turn 4. You see then the first of the BMWs coming down the inside. It tags the Zach Speed Mercedes. Baumann actually cut through the inside of the corner, and then he found himself ahead of the pack of Mercedes, and it was the Zach Speed car which tagged the back of Stef Dusseldorf, who then caught Baumann, who was slipping down the outside. Probably thought he was doing it unseen.
So let's have a look at the replay on board with Maximilian Buch coming down into the first corner. You'll see Frederic Vavish in that McLaren in front of us skip across.
Souček, he gets the best in a sense of all those breaking down the inside. Gains 1 position, gains 2 positions. Vavish had to give it up. He didn't seem to want to give it up so easily to Maximilian Buch as they go down the inside.
But Vavish managed to hold on to this place. So Buch's got the inside into 3, but look at Vavish going around the outside there.
The reason Andy Souček braked because he's having to check up. Then Buch had to check up, and Vavish had gone down the outside and just literally used the wide line around the very open turn 3 on the outside. There's a big runoff. He used all that and then back up into 4th place.
And then they headed up into turn 4 without too much drama. A little feint to the inside line, and the cars are happily making their way around the full circuit now, so they're not using that cut through anymore. So that suggests that we could be getting racing back underway before too long. We've had 10 minutes gone in this 1 hour sprint race. We do have mandatory pit stops to come as well, between 35 minutes and 25 minutes. But as it stands, Max Buch and Max Goetz only need to make up 1 position to take the title. The title will only be for Max Goetz because Max Buch had to miss out in Slovakia ring. So we've heard from Jens Klingmann. His teammate Dominic Baumann was the man in the wall. Now he's the man with David.
Dominic Baumann, what a first lap. There was a bit of corner cutting perhaps to get out of trouble, and then you end up in the wall. What happened?
Yeah, it was really strange. So the car felt really good in the first 2 corners, but I guess I made already 10 cars up. It felt really good, and then I tried to cut the corner, and then the Mercedes got a hit from behind, and he spun nearly, and he spun into me, so it was a little bit of bad luck. But if he would just went straight, it would be okay. So yeah, that's racing, and yeah, it's okay.
How bad is the damage?
Yeah, bad. I don't really see the really good, but I think it's over for us. I'm not sure.
Bad luck, thanks.
Dominic Baumann.
What Dominic Baumann did was in turn 4, he cut behind what would be the apex of the corner because he got backed up again. He thought this was the right thing to do.
Well, he saw the accident coming.
Yeah, but he comes up the inside. In fact, he actually, he saw that contact with the Joe Osborne. He gets into what he thinks is clear air, and then all of a sudden he sees the 85 Mercedes of Stef Dusseldorf coming at him like an Exocet missile at 85 degrees.
Such a shame for the Schubert squad. Jens Klingmann was super quick in free practice yesterday. They won a race at Zandvoort earlier this season when it was Thomas Jaeger alongside Dominic Baumann. But the Azerbaijanis have all brought their flags out to watch some of the action at the first corner. It is still quite early here, only 9:30 in the morning in Azerbaijan. The second race will be getting underway about 1:30 local time, so a little bit more of a sociable hour here. 47 minutes left on the clock then, and as far as the rest of the order is concerned, I don't think we've had too many big losers. Just looking at the order at the moment, Kevin Estra's down in 17th place, but that McLaren only started in 18th place, so they've made up a position, and that's about it, really.
Yes, and Enzo Eid, who shares with René Rast. Normally you would expect that René Rast car to be much more towards the front of the grid, but let's look again and see what happens into the turns 1 and 2 this first chicane. And it comes upon you very quickly because you're really only getting out of turn 13, which is just about in these conditions going to be flat out.
I think Zanardi is going to be the one that potentially could be in a bit of trouble because he's just cut across there and he's going to Now, is he now ahead? Is he ahead of that McLaren? Yeah, he is ahead of both of the Bitech McLarens and that Brazilian BMW as a result. But maybe it's not as a result of that. Maybe that happened, you know, legitimately further around the track. That's the difficulty that the race directors face. We're still behind the safety car here in Azerbaijan, the final qualifying race of the season, which will decide the grid for the main race, which comes up later today. As we still are under safety car after Dominic Baumann was pushed into the wall. Steph Dusseldorp is out of the race as well. And there is Steph. There is the damage to the barriers on what is quite an unusual place to collect the barriers, really, on the exit of turn 4 there.
Yeah, it was more because the Mercedes was almost at right angles to the BMW. If the BMW hadn't been there, the Mercedes would have had a fairly substantial, almost head-on impact with those barriers. So, in a sense, the Mercedes came out of the whole deal very much better than it potentially would have done, and the BMW not just found itself in the right place at the wrong time.
Down towards the right-hander. The safety car will be in this lap, so we're going to have about 10 minutes of racing before the pit stop window opens. Stefan Ortelli leading the way, Laurens Vanthoor in second place. I do wonder if we might get a bit of team orders between Vanthoor and Ortelli, because Laurens Vanthoor is still in contention for the overall Blancpain GT Series title, as are the WRT team. And this would be good news for them as well. They can't win the overall team's title today because they don't quite have enough of an advantage, and it's the same in the Sprint Series teams. It's actually HDP who are leading that championship, so an awful lot of championships to try and keep track of. But at the moment, the safety car pulls in, and we're about to go racing again here in Azerbaijan. We go green, and it's Stefan Ortelli who's leading the way. Laurens Vanthoor in second place. Third is Jeroen Bleekemolen in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Fourth place is Andy Soucek in the Aston Martin. Fifth is Vervish. Sixth is Max Buch. Seventh place is Christopher Mies. And in eighth place is Marcus Winkelhock as they dive down into the first chicane. And it's great to get racing back underway here on the streets of Azerbaijan. But what will Laurens Vanthoor try and do about Stefan Ortelli? The two teammates up front. A little look from Andy Soucek, a bigger look from Christopher Mies, trying to get past Maximilian Buch down into the hairpin. He's not quite close enough as they come down into turn 3. We go on board with Buch, and he's getting more pressure from behind than he is attacking Frederik Vervish in front. Now we come into turn 4, the right-hander that takes us out onto Mikhail Usanov Street and out into the Old Town.
Well, for Maximilian Buch, his job is relatively easy. It's Jeroen Bleekemolen in third place, who's got all the hard work to do. He really needs to get to the front, get ahead of these two Audis in first and second place. But the pressure's going to come, I think, from Andy Soucek, who's been stunning in the opening lap in the Aston Martin. Started 6th up to 4th place. He's got Vervish behind him, so the McLaren with Frederik Vervish also a challenge to those that are directly ahead. Oh, and the BMW at turn 7.
And that is the 30 BMW, so this time it's the Sperafico twins who are in the wall up there. It's Ricardo Sperafico who has started the race, so hopefully they can get that car pushed out before we need to have a safety car up there, as the cars wind their way now around turn 10, back up the hill towards the quick chicane at 11 and 12. And they really pound these curves on the right-hand side. They're avoiding it a reasonable amount today. Maybe you can't hit those curves too hard, too regularly, but it's Ortelli who leads across the line.
Well, the cars are slightly heavier. They've got race fuel on board, the race tyres on board, so this is a slightly different view you're going to take to that very quick part of the racetrack. You don't want to do damage to your car and then have to make an unnecessary pit stop, which they're going to do in 7 minutes or so.
Sperafico, a lock-up from Jeroen Bleekemolen, and not quite a room, and that's another ABS failure.
I was going to say, is that another? We saw that happen in qualifying yesterday, and that's a scary moment for a driver. You're relying on your ABS brake system. Suddenly there's a massive lock-up at the front, and you just lose confidence. So for Jeroen Bleekemolen, he is going to not know at any point when he comes on the brakes, particularly from some of these high-speed straights into these tight chicanes, has he got a brake pedal that's going to perform as it's expected to do.
They have had a couple of problems with that so far this year, Grasser, but only sort of twice this season has that happened. But to have it happen twice in now 2 days, in a weekend, that will be a bit more of a concern. All these cars have ABS, but on the instant that you don't, obviously all your wheels lock up because you're applying full brake pressure. Into the pits has come Ricardo Sperafico in that Brazilian BMW, and he was challenging with Marco Asma coming up towards the left-hander. That's ambitious. He's gone to the inside. But has he just left his braking too late and he's not going to get it done?
Yes, I mean, basically he's on the inside, he's narrowed off the angle of the corner, and he just had too much speed. He couldn't slow the car down sufficiently, and that just overran the corner, damaged the right front of the car. You can see the bodywork is damaged. He's getting out of the car as we go back.
That's a move from the Zach Speed Mercedes, and they have Andreas Simonsen coming across the line. And that is well down in 15th position. So not the best of starts for Zach Speed, but they've just managed to get past Kevin Estra then. And there is Matej Stumpf, who's already out of the race, as we go on board with Alex Zanardi down into the hairpin. He is currently running in 11th place. It's Marco Holzer in the Schutz BMW up in front. But here's the battle for third place that's getting closer and closer, and Max Buch is now starting to get closer to Frederik Vervisch in 5th position. The car's flashing through the right-hander of 4 and then heading on up the hill.
Well, the gap between first and third is now 2.5 seconds, and there's pressure coming from the Aston Martin, the second of these two cars, coming into turn 8, and Andy Soucek will know that the confidence that Jerome Blancpain will have in the brakes in that Lamborghini is going to see him being that little bit more cautious, under braking coming into all these, particularly down into this turn 10 hairpin bend. Aston closes up. You can see how much it closed up as they got under braking. Now he's got the sort of the seesaw effect as he accelerates up the hill. I think Soucek has got his eyes clearly on that third place for Lamborghini, and Jerome Blancpain will not want to concede it at all.
Round through the left-hander of turn 13. It's not quite full, is it? But the Aston Martin is super fast through turn 13, down towards the chicane. He's not quite close enough to look to the inside line, but he might be fancying a look on the brakes into the hairpin of turn 3, because he'll know from following him last time out that Lamborghini is a little bit in trouble when it comes to braking. You can see the Lambo's got great traction out of the corners, doesn't it?
Yes, well, it's a mid-engine car, but not only that, you could see how much the Aston was catching going through turn 13, indicating to me that the balance of the Lamborghini is not as good as the Aston Martin. And in fact, Soucek had to get out of the throttle.
And Maximilian Buch is past Vervisch, so Max Buch is up into 5th position. So if things stay how they are, I believe that means Max Goertz will become the Blancpain Sprint Series champion. But we've still got 39 minutes of racing to go. He must have done it around the sort of second half of that lap, and Max Buch in the HTP car is up into 5th place.
Good drive by the young German to make that pass. Not easy. Large car, the Mercedes-Benz, not a huge amount of room around this racetrack. Couple of good shots to overtake, but again coming down through turn 9, the run down into turn 10. The Lamborghini can stretch it, but then it's under brakes, and you see the Aston closes back up, and it will be interesting to see this time as they come through turn 13 whether Soucek will be able to go through the corner. He had to check the throttle, otherwise he's going to hit the back of the Lamborghini.
Drive-through penalty for car 888, which is Joe Osborne for causing a collision, which was that collision that unfortunately has ended the race of Dominic Baumann. Osborne is down in 22nd place at the moment, so it's not, and we've only got 25 runners still, so it's not going to cause him too much distress. But here's a look up the inside, and Vervisch is coming back at Buch and is back into 5th place. So this is a very nice battle that's brewing over 5th position. Vervisch versus Buch, but then they've got Christopher Mies and Marcus Winkelhock, 2 Audi R8 specialists behind, and then a couple of Porsches as well. Alex Zanardi lurking in the background too, so a nice squabble is brewing here. But meanwhile, Soucek is just half a second behind Bleekemolen for 3rd.
Yes, Vervisch took a big chunk of curb on the inside, whether that's something that will be looked at by the stewards. The fact is that Vervisch got speed. Now, how he lost the pace to Buch, we never quite saw. It may well have been something that Vervisch made a mistake, and that gave Buch the run. Let's look a little bit further. Is this the replay? Oh, clobbered it. Did he ever?
Wow, and that's taken some of the rear wing off, hasn't it?
So that's the reason why that Vavish got through, because damage to the rear of the car from the young German in the exit of turn 7.
Well, that could be very interesting to see what Buch's pace is like now. Here will next come Vavish through the quick right-hander of 9, and Buch, look at that, he's all over the place. He's got
half the rear
downforce
wing's
problems.
gone.
Yeah.
Half his rear wing is gone in that contact with the wall in the exit of turn 7, and he's going to get mullered by everybody. And this all of a sudden has changed the entire dynamic of the race for the championship leaders.
Absolutely, because Christopher Mies is coming up right behind him now, and Buch is really going to struggle, especially through the final corner here. Let's see how this works out for him. Throws it into the left-hander. Christopher Mies actually has not had a great run through the chicane, but across the line he comes, and Buch all of a sudden is now 0.8 of a second behind Vavish in front of him. So what can the German do now to hold on to this top 6 position?
It's not only holding on to the top 6 positions, what is that rear wing going to do? Because 1/3 of it is completely gone. The remaining part of the wing looks secure at the minute, but you're going to get a twist on that rear wing because one part of it is actually functioning, the rest isn't. And whether it's going to remain as a part of the rear of the car or not, well, Maximilian Buch probably doesn't realize the damage that he can't actually see from the cockpit what the damage is to the car. He knows he's got a car that is tricky now to drive. The back end of the car and the fast corners will be all over the shop.
Zanardi is starting to close in on Marco Holzer in front of him as Buch turns into the left-hander. We go on board with him now. That's where he could hit the wall last time, and he can afford to hit it a bit more now because he's taken away the parts that might be damaged.
He's taken the wing off, but of course he doesn't want to get close to the barrier because he could damage the rear, particularly the right rear. That was where the contact occurred. Damage a rim, a tire can get cut. Any number of things can occur.
Down to the hairpin of turn 10. Buch looks in the mirrors as he gets on the brakes to go through the tight left-hander. And what can Christopher Mies and Marcus Winkelhock do? That's got to be the question, really, because Buch now looks reasonably comfortable as he throws it through that chicane and into the final left-hander of 13. It's Christopher Mies who's very, very slow through that final chicane, and as a result, Winkelhock's coming past. He's going around the outside. Christopher Mies in trouble, and Winkelhock is up into 6th place in the Phoenix Audi, and Mies is dropping back and back and back. So, yeah, there must be a problem for that Prosperia Audi, I'd have thought.
Well, we didn't see any obvious reason why that car should suddenly lose pace coming through turn 3. He was right on the inside of the corner, getting out of the way of Marcus Winkelhock, who steamed by. So Christopher Mies, has he tagged something? Has he got a tire deflation? Hard to tell.
And Alex Zanardi is now under all sorts of pressure from Alvaro Parent in the battle over 11th position. The pit stop window is open now. So will we see cars coming into the pits immediately?
Who's going to come in first? It's Maximilian Buch, who damaged the back of the car, the championship leading car. Are they going to come in at the earliest opportunity and get Max Goetz into the car? Well, or are we going to see a whole stampede of cars coming in? They all went across the start-finish line just before the 35 minutes there. We wait to see. So it's all backing up through the midfield, and it's behind Marcus Winkelhock that this is all happening.
Yep, that's Christopher Mies in the 777 car. Marcus Winkelhock further up the road. There's Max Goetz, looking like he's getting ready to take over. Here's a challenge coming down into the hairpin from Alvaro Parent. Oh, and he's hit Zanardi. Zanardi's in the wall.
Oh,
Alex Zanardi will be out of the race with that. He got clipped by Alvaro Parent coming down into the hairpin, and the BMW has been spat into the tyre barriers on the inside line.
Well, unnecessary contact, Alvaro Parent. That was his mistake. He just tried to dive down the inside. No way at all, as the Mercedes, you point out, into the pit lane. So the championship winning, leading Mercedes-Benz is in. Max Goetz is waiting for that car to come in. He's going to get a real shock when he goes out and discovers the change of balance this car is going to give him.
Yep, so into the pits comes Maximilian Buch. He's going to hand over to his teammate Max Goetz, and they again are coming in at a different time to everyone else. That worked for them in Zolder. They gained about 2 seconds in Zolder by coming into the pits when no one else was there.
Change of tyres, but no one's looking at the rear wing at all. I don't know whether they're going to see if there's anything they can do with it to secure it any further as we get the number 2 Audi in as well.
Yeah, René Rast is going to take over from Enzo Ede, but they were running a long way further down the order. How is this pit stop working out? A pretty strong one for HDP. That's number 2 Audi, a long way down, but it looks as though that was a good stop for HDP.
Very good stop, so Max Goetz out. Oh, well, very, very
That's a tight one,
indeed.
actually, for
Lazowski, that was Brill and Lazowski going out. in that very heavily repaired car.
No, that was Rene Rast heading out, having taken over from Enzo Eid, and now goes the Callaway Corvette. So, Max Buch and Max Goetz, the first to come into the pits and make their stop. Out of the pits comes the 110 Callaway Corvette and heads out onto the circuit once more. So that means Ortelli, Vanthor and Bleekemolen still our top three, and then Andy Soucek in fourth, Frederik Vervies still in fifth. Sixth is Marcus Winkelhock across the line. Looks as though Seidler has got up into seventh place then, with Marco Holzer in eighth after all that contact, and there is Alex Zanardi being towed away out of the race, unfortunately. Let's have a look at it again.
Yeah, I mean, the tag even comes before they get turned into the corner. Under brakes, mistake from Alvaro Parent, hits the back of the BMW. He's on the inside, trying to consolidate or make a position. Here's the view from Alex Zanardi's car, and all of a sudden he sees an opportunity down the inside, moves to the left to put himself into position to get up alongside the Audi, and then from behind, Bosch, there it is. And he's lucky he didn't. Did he clip the front of the back of the?
No, he didn't. He missed the Audi, but Zanardi was just braking in a straight line there, wasn't he?
He was trying to get
out from behind.
Trying to make a maneuver to get a position, but he got hit from back. And
so this is Stefan Ortelli coming into the double-waved yellow zone. And what has happened here? That's just the slowing Christopher Mies, isn't it? Yes, so that's Mies getting out of the way. So the battle between first and second has closed in all of a sudden. It all looked like it all got a bit... Did they come up to the back of that Audi in the yellow flag zone? I think that must have been what all the kerfuffle was about. But into the pits now...
Problem rear tyre smoking on that Audi.
But into the pits comes Laurens Vanthor to hand over to Cesar Ramos. So that's going to be time for the WRT pit crew to shine. And they're saying, oh, you've got to move that marker if you want Vanthor to stop in here.
I think there was concern about fluid on the circuit, or on the pit lane as well. So Vanthor out very quickly indeed, Cesar Ramos into that car. Jerome Bleekemolen in the meantime has done the fastest first sector of that last lap. So he is beginning to get some kind of pace back into the Lamborghini. He's got Stefan Ortelli 2.3 seconds up the road ahead of him. Or more critically, he hopes to use now that clear air to put more space between himself and Maximilian Goetz, who's taken over the championship-leading Mercedes-Benz. It's all a bit of a gamble, but if you're at the front, you've got better track position than those that are now in the middle.
So there comes Cesar Ramos back into the fray. Where is that HTP Mercedes? That's the big question. As he comes down into the first corner, he did have sort of 5 or 6 seconds over the HTP car of Max Goetz. And, well, we're going to see another replay now of Zanardi getting clipped. Now, Parent realises he can't go to the inside, so he starts to move back over.
What happened, I think, was Parent was looking...
There, look, he starts to move back over and then just misjudges it.
Yeah, he did, but he was also in himself looking to go down the inside of Zanardi and realised it wasn't going to happen. So he came back and got in behind the BMW because there was a closing gap, in effect, getting into the apex of that corner. So it was a misjudgment. There is the Mercedes-Benz Maximilian Goetz. We wait to see where he is.
That's a long way
He's
behind.
14th position. And we wait to see where Cesar Ramos will filter into this process, but certainly Maximilian Goetz down in 14th place.
He does seem to me to be quite a long way behind. I'll try and keep an eye out of when they come through the sector times, as we now see the number 2 Audi out there on the circuit. Then we've got the damaged front end of that HTP car and then we've got the battle. Oh, shaky there for Andy Soucek as he came through turn 4.
The back end stepped out into turn 4, and that's just a little warning to say.
But this is Stefan Ortelli encountering traffic, and this is the race leader, and that has brought Jeroen Bleekemolen right into play. So Bleekemolen is right up behind, but meanwhile, Ramos is in clear air.
Yeah, but they've got to go into the pits. They've got to get out of this traffic. They must now go in. There's just coming up to 3 minutes of the pit window remaining. So there's no point hanging around in this traffic and losing time. They've got to go into the pits and do their driver changes as early as possible.
Ortelli looks down to the inside, but he's not close enough. And this is really hurting their race, because Max Buch and Max Goetz and Laurens Vanthor and Cesar Ramos have made their pit stops. And there through goes Ortelli, but not through. Surely the Grasser car pops into the pits. So Bleekemolen comes in. This is going to be interesting to see where he comes out compared to Vanthor and Ramos and compared to Buch and Goetz.
Ramos is in 10th place, Goetz in 13th.
So as they come down into the chicane there. This is the battle. Well, this is now Andy Soucek, who's up into second place, but Ramos is, well, it doesn't quite make sense on the timing screens at the moment, as into the pits now comes your own Blancpain.
So Harry Project ready to jump into the Lamborghini, and I think this has been a probably frustrating as much as anything else stint for Jerome Blancpain. Helps Harry Project, so they've just got to get the Lamborghini turned around, get it out anywhere possible ahead of Maximilian Goetz, currently being shown in 13th place.
There is Blancpain getting out of the way as quickly as possible. Just got to pull out the jacks and then away we go. So let's see where they're going to come out compared to the other cars that we've got out there. Out comes Harry Project, and he's all by himself at the moment. And is that the #1 car that he's in front of? Yes. So Project at the moment is up in front of Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor's car, which means they're also obviously still ahead of Max Buch and Max Goetz, and that is delight for the Grasser Racing team.
Great team effort by Grasser Racing to do that pit stop, get the car turned around, more critically to get ahead of Cesar Ramos, who's of course on a hot lap. Harry Project on his out lap tires are cold, so he's going to have to be careful on this opening lap. He's going to get pressure from Cesar Ramos. Jerome Blancpain, well, I think he's more relieved than anything else, because that was a tough session for him.
But Project does not have particularly a huge amount of experience in the car this year, because he did a lot of running in the second free practice session that was wet, but not much in the first free practice session that was dry. So Cesar Ramos is right behind him as they come down into the right-hander, and now we have Stefan Ortelli, our race leader, into the pits, and Andy Soucek in the Beechstein Aston Martin. So it's all going to be about where they come out in regards to these two. And we also need to keep on Max Goetz and Max Buch, because they are a lot further back than I was anticipating, but we'll wait and see what happens there. Down into the hairpin comes this battle, and Project can't get it stopped. Ramos looks to the inside line, but Project will hold on to the position for the time being.
Tense moments in the Grosser pits. They saw that little mistake from Harry Project. He's got it all back in control again.
But where are Ortelli and Raquelme? Because here come our race leaders. Are they still in the pits? Are they coming out of the pits? There comes Raquelme out of the pits now. And these two are going side by side for the lead. Ramos is through. Cesar Ramos is into what I think will be the lead of the race, but we're not quite sure where the Aston and the Audi have filtered back in at the moment. So Ramos is through, past Blancpain and Project. But where is that in relation to the other cars? That's the big question. Down to the left-hander, there is the Aston Martin, and
that's ahead of the Audi.
The Audi behind. So that is Ramos into the lead of the race by the looks of things.
And that is the...
yes, it is. So that is the #9 Audi there behind.
Yes. So they've overtaken, they've passed in the pit lane. Down the inside, Soucek just about can squeak through. He managed to get alongside early enough before the braking was complete. So clean pass. That's going to put the what was the Raquelme Audi driven by Ortelli, yellow wave flags down there. Where's that green flag? So it's clear again.
Someone's gone off into the escape road up there.
So Johnny Adam,
Johnny Adam now.
He's going to have a small breathing space, as there's the lead, or effectively what will become the lead, with the Audi first, second, third now is the Aston Martin with Johnny Adam. And there is that battle for the lead. First three are going to be covered by what's 5.5, 6 seconds coming across start-finish line.
Alvaro Parens has been given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. Here's the look again at the replay, and just as you see these two flash through, then the guys were coming out of the pits. So this was the move for the lead of the race in the end from Cesar Ramos. Got a good drive out of 13, and it was a reasonably straightforward maneuver in the end to give him the lead of the race. So Ramos and Vanthoor up into first place. Disappointment in the garage there for Grasser Racing, but their main championship rivals appear to be down in 8th position, Max Goetz and Max Buch.
Out of the points.
And out of
in
the
this
points.
race.
Absolutely.
And 6 points for second place, should the positions remain as they are now, with what, 23 minutes of the race remaining. Harry Project in second place. The gap between second and third, about 3.5 or so seconds, and they came across the line. So in effect, we've now got the lead, Ramos leading the race.
And here is Max Goetz then. He's right in a battle. He's behind Marcus Winkelhock and in front of Kevin Estre. Kevin Estre's done a great job. That Boots and Gignon McLaren started 18th, and it's now up into 9th position. So Max Goetz knows that he doesn't need to make maneuvers, but if it stayed like this, he'd only have a 21-point advantage going into the race tomorrow, as opposed to we were in a situation, just 20 minutes ago where he was looking like being the champion.
Well, he's got his lights going. He's desperate to get into the points, to do anything just to mitigate the damage that was done to the car earlier before the pit stops with the rear wing damage. So he's caught. He's nothing an awful he can't do. He's got Marcus Winkelhock just directly ahead of him. He's not going to concede any ground whatsoever.
Into the right-hander, and they're all closing in on Frederik Vervies in 6th place as well. René Rast is up into 5th place somehow, as also in that, well, he would have come in, had some clear air and set some belting lap times, and now René Rast is up into 5th position. So Cesar Ramos leads the way. Harry Procik is in 2nd in the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. 3rd is Johnny Adam. Wide is Maximilian Goetz, and attacking is Matt Bell, looking to the inside line, but not quite close enough. But Goetz is struggling with that car because of that damage.
Yeah, but watch, the McLaren is going to be quicker through turn 13, and he's going to get a run down into the entry into turns 1 and 2. It's a question of whether he can stay close. And behind, directly behind, we got
Martin Ragginger.
Yeah, the Porsche. So the Porsche's got reasonably good straight line speed and trying to take advantage of the difficulties that Maximilian Goetz.
Too much curb there, and that could allow the Porsche. No, not quite.
No, the Porsche couldn't do anything there. It's whether really Matt Bell is going to be able to make a move on the McLaren.
And Winkelhock looks to the inside, trying to get past Frederik Vervies into the hairpin of turn 3, but he's not quite close enough to get past this time around. A rub of the eye from Maximilian Buch. He knows that, well, it's not just it's his overall GT challenge that is in a bit of trouble as well, because if things stay like this, well, let's just watch this replay first of this is Max Goetz going very, very wide into the hairpin, and that allowed the McLaren to get alongside, but not quite alongside enough.
No, if you're either alongside or you're not, in that case it wasn't. So we see this battle continuing on. Pressure still going for Max Goetz from the McLaren directly behind.
The reason
Ramos has got a sort of, well, he's got a second and a bit lead over Harry Procik, and then the Aston's a further 2 seconds back.
It's 4.6 seconds, the gap at the front. Here's the attack up the inside, and Rob Bell surely is going to get past Max Goetz this time around. Yes, he is, and Martin Ragginger tries to follow through as well in that bright yellow Schutz Porsche. Looks to the inside, not close enough, and Max Buch is, the reason he's looking frustrated is not only, well, there's so many things on the line, but if things stay like this, Laurens Vanthoor will win the overall Blancpain GT Series title.
And the other thing Max Buch is thinking about, as they lose positions, they're outside the points, so that's one element of it. But the more positions they lose, the more difficulty they will have in terms of getting a grid position for the championship race. So the further back they start, just adds and heaps more pressure on both the young German drivers.
It also isn't particularly good news for
Got the inside. Oh, nearly. Fortunately got out of the throttle sufficiently early enough to avoid that contact.
That was Rob Bell attacking Frederik Vervies in the two Boots and Gignon McLarens. It's also not good news for HTP as far as the overall teams championship is concerned. And I think there, if things stay like this, that will wrap up the teams and drivers overall in the Blancpain GT Series, which is across the sprint and the endurance for Vanthoor and WRT. So things not looking good for HTP at the moment, because their car there in the 84 in the hands of Max Goetz is sliding down the field, and the next man to attack is going to be Martin Ragginger, and then there's Lucas Wolf behind in the sister HTP car as well.
Well, in the meantime, they're going to be starting on the 5th row of the grid. If the positions remain as they are, 9th, dropping to 10th will not make a lot of difference. That will effectively be the 5th row of the grid as well. But anything further than that, onto the 6th row, then that is a big problem.
So Cesar Ramos is leading the way. 4.5 seconds clear of Harry Procik here in Baku. It's Johnny Adam running in 3rd position. It's a very fast René Rast running in 5th, closing in on Stefan Rakelmi on that last lap by 2 seconds. Goodness, Rast is something special, isn't he? As he closes in on Rakelmi. But looking back to this fight, and it's Nicky Meyer-Melnoff. Oh, sorry, it's Nicky Meyer-Melnoff at the wheel of that number 6 car, not Marcus Winkelhock. My apologies.
The transponder.
And we've got newsroom David Addison in the pit. Oh, here comes the attack up the inside.
Rob Bell.
And through goes Rob Bell, past Frederik Vervies, and also through goes the Porsche. Martin Ragginger going past Maximilian Goetz as they came to the inside at turn 3, and that's another position lost. Goetz in that HTP car down to 10th place. News from the pits from David. Well, we'll try and bring you that news at some point. And, well, apparently we're ready now. David.
get hold of Max Boom for you, but he does not want to be spoken to. As you both are making the point, he's very frustrated with his mistake first of all, and now with the championship hopes fizzling away. It is afraid
Thanks for that. David didn't quite catch everything, but I think basically Max Boot doesn't want to talk to us right now.
Understandably, I mean, he's sitting there, standing there, watching this disintegrate as a consequence of what his actions were coming through turn 7. Down to 10th place, Ragginger got through on lap 22, and they've got to come across start-finish line. As we see Rob Bell now closing up Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, and look, I think a serious bit of pressure on the Audi down into turn 1 and 2.
So Nicky Meyer-Melnhof it is, running in 6th place. I thought Ragginger was going to go for it and try and get past. So it's also, of course, not Vervish in that 16 car. My apologies, it's Chris van der Drift. They haven't changed the transponder over in that car, so it's van der Drift who's under pressure from the Porsche behind, and Ragginger goes around the outside at turn 3. Can he keep that job done?
Excellent.
Yes, he can. That's brilliant.
Absolutely took the long line. Sometimes it's the quick line. Worked for Ragginger, and he got alongside and got past. And that's pretty, he'll be happy with that.
So Chris van der Drift drops down to 9th position now, just ahead of Maximilian Goetz. As they come down Mikhail Husanov Street into the left-hander of 7th. And Nicky Meyer-Melnhof is now under a lot of pressure from Rob Bell in that battle over 6th.
Yeah, I imagine Rob Bell's going to be lining him up as they go into the braking zone into turn 9. There you see the small gap opening up between the McLaren and the Porsche. The Porsche not in contest with this particular little battle. I don't think that Bell is sufficiently close to have a look down the inside this time, but clearly the McLaren right now is slightly quicker than the Audi with Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
Just another little point. Stefano Colombo appears to be out of the race in that Royal BMW, just as far as Silver Cup points are concerned. So if they are not going to score, because they've been out of the race for quite a while now, Mateusz Sosowski looks like he's still lapping on the circuit, even though they've come back in, they've come into the pits and headed out, having had an incident, but they are still running 4th in class. So that might be enough for them, with a 4th place finish, to seal the title in the Silver Cup. But we'll keep an eye on that and see if they're still lapping.
The bodywork on the Lamborghini is flapping on the right side. Now, whether it'll be a problem or not, but you can see whether it's just become a fish becomes attached. There we see another pass.
This is Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. He's already lost out to Rob Bell, and now he's lost out to Martin Ragginger as well. So Meyer-Melnhof drops down to 8th place. Rob Bell up to 6th, 7th now for Ragginger, and 8th place for Nicky Meyer-Melnhof.
Hopefully get another glimpse of the Lamborghini currently in 2nd place, Harry Project. See whether that bodywork is something that's going to be a problem or not. 14.5 minutes of this race remaining. They're not going to make a pit stop unless it is urgent.
Through the right-hander they come. A quick turn 9 that takes them down towards the hairpin of 10. And I wonder now if van der Drift might be under pressure from Max Goetz. Will Max Goetz be able to fight his way past the Kiwi and try and gain some sort of momentum back? René Rast, meanwhile, is right up behind Stefan Rakelmi over 4th and 5th position, just 0.8 of a second between them. So I think we might see a bit of team play between the two WRT cars in the squabble over 4th. And so that's something to keep an eye out for as they come across the line. This is Max Goetz, who actually, having said he might be able to attack in front, he's actually coming under pressure from Lucas Wolff behind. And then we've got Rodrigo Sperofico and Daniel Kielwitz on their way to join the squabble as well, with 13 minutes to go. But it still Cesar Ramos leading, with Laurens Vanthoor, his teammate, looking set to win the overall Blancpain GT Series title, and WRT looking set to win the overall Blancpain GT Series title for the teams as well.
Yeah, the gap between 2nd and 3rd place seem to be stabilised around about a second. You can see the front of the bonnet there on the Lamborghini doesn't appear to be getting any worse. I don't know whether Johnny Adams able to be made aware that there's a slight area in the Lamborghini that is problematic, but he's doing what he can, and last lap 1 minute 30.9, almost identical to that of Harry Project. And about 400th of a second difference.
Just to complete my thinking on Silver Cup, it looks as though Lizowski and Abril are out of the race, as well as Colombo and Fuminelli. So there's going to be 24 points between them going into the final race of the season in the Silver Cup, which basically means that unless the 4 car doesn't finish and the 34 car wins, then Vincent Abril and Mateusz Lizowski will be champions. But that won't be decided in this race by the looks of things.
Johnny Adams trying to run down the Lamborghini in second place. Harry Project needs to do everything he can to keep those points for second place healthy and safe. So there was a second when they came across the line the last time. It opened up to a second and a half, but that's sort of the ebb and flow as you get during these floating moments. And again, looks like the gap beginning to come back towards the Aston Martin's favour.
Jerome Bleekemolen via social media has said that he was happy with his stint, but the car is still suffering with ABS problems. It's not just that we saw it cut off at that one point, but I think in general the braking is not as it should be.
Well, that means there's no driver confidence. When you put your foot in the brake, you're braking late, you don't know whether the brake's going to be with you, and if the ABS fails, a strange wide line for Harry Project going into turn 10 down at the bottom of the hill. But if you haven't got that confidence in the brakes that when you hit the brake hard, the ABS is going to do what it's designed to do and not end up with 2 front wheels locking and dragging flat spots onto your tyres.
Fantastic to go around that whole lap, wasn't it? On board with Johnny Adam in the Aston Martin, in the Beechstein car that's joined us in Zolder and had a great run. And there's a man who put it for a great run, Andy Soucek.
Out of his overalls already.
Yeah, well, time for lunch, isn't it? 11 minutes to go. Oh, and that's not good news for Rob Bell. Rob Bell looks to have run into problems in that Boutsen Gignon car from 6th position. It looks like he may well be retiring from this one. That's going to promote everyone up a position behind. But Rob Bell, seemingly with a mechanical issue rather than any signs of visible damage.
No, there's no tyre damage to the car, so it must be either electronic or mechanical. We wait to see something from the pit lane, so he'll be in there probably within a few seconds.
So that means Max Kurtz is back up into 9th position now, but he's still got, I mean, the good news for him, he's got his teammate Lucas Wolf behind, who doesn't need to go past, is leading Silver Cup, and so will probably, I'd have thought, be instructed to just sort of sit in and hold behind the charging Daniel Kielwitz in that Callaway Corvette. That is, if he can hold up Daniel Kielwitz.
Yeah, Kielwitz is bumping in the back of the Mercedes going through turn 3. And 9th place, but there's still a 5th grid start for the championship leaders as the Corvette is trying to find a way through and sort of split these 2 Mercedes-Benz.
To Mikhail Lusinov Street. Towards the left-hander. Kielwitz right up behind Lucas Wolf as they come through the left. Down towards the dual carriageway once more. And Kielwitz is looking strong, isn't he? Very frustrated with last season was Kielwitz because he started the year actually in a McLaren, but that operation folded, and then he joined here in Azerbaijan, but they were eliminated in the 2nd free practice session after an accident. So now he wants to fight back through and prove the Callaway Corvette's worth, and bonnet
really
problems.
Is a problem. This is the problem I've been picking up on for the last. Now it is a problem, and this is going to be a big issue. 9 minutes remaining.
Oh,
and bodywork in the front splitter, the hold on as wheels coming off the wagon is, look at that, coming down into turn 10.
Well, that is not good news.
Look at even the splitter and the bumping on the ground. So I think we're going to see the Harry Project. If he can hang on here, he's got less than a second of a gap between Adam and Johnny Adams gone through into 2nd place. So they're down to 3rd place. Project 3rd. 4th place, René Rast, who's going to catch him. So it's all, we've seen the problems for the championship leading car, now we're seeing problems for the championship chasing car.
They have got to finish in the top 4 if they want to keep the fight alive going into the final race of the season. It's almost turning into who doesn't want to win this sprint title rather than who wants to, as they wind out now. This is the battle back in 8th, 9th and 10th positions. The Callaway Corvette, which is currently in 11th, trying to get past Lucas Wolf in front, but if Project comes into the pits, it's over. That's the end of the championship challenge, and we can now hopefully hear from Jeroen Bleekemolen. What has happened to his bonnet? He is in the pits with David Addison.
Jeroen, what's caused the damage, do you know?
Well, I mean, this track is very aggressive with curbs, and you have to run them, otherwise you're slow. And our car is just not as strong as a Mercedes or you know, all the other cars out there, I guess, because he didn't hit anything. It's just parts falling off. And again, he didn't hit a wall, nothing. It's just going over the curbs, as the others are doing the same. But we just started losing parts. When I got out of the car, I had small vibrations, but everything was still fine. But it just seems to get worse and worse. And let's hope we can at least finish. But yeah, it's a big problem because in the second race, you have to run the curbs again. I think they have to change the tire wall in the last chicane, because there you have to run the curbs full if you want to be quick. And that's very bad for the cars. And if your car is not so strong, you see what happens.
So here is Harry Procek running in third position. He's got René Rast now right behind him. So René Rast is about to guide that car into the top 3. But then what's the gap back? Through goes René Rast, then up the inside. What's the gap back to Riquelme? It's 6 seconds, but we've only got 7 minutes to go, and they've got to finish in the top 4, which is where they are now, if they want to keep their hopes alive. The gap is 27 points. With HTP not scoring, that means that a 4th place finish will give them 3 points, which brings the gap down to 24 points, which means it is doable in the final race, where there's 25 points up for grabs.
And it is just predictability is so unpredictable in this race, with just the point that Jerome Mullen is saying. We've seen cars running the curbs, particularly in turns 11 and 12, where they're actually aggressively running that curb. That's caused the damage to the Lamborghinis, affecting other teams and cars less. Yes, that was the Parent.
And that is Alvaro Philippe Salaquadin out the wheel, just getting out of their way. But the Callaway Corvette is through. So Daniel Kielwitz has got past Lucas Wolff, and we're about to find out where. This is coming into turn 4. He's gone to the outside of turn 4. Good work from Kielwitz there. Spooked Lucas Wolff a little bit.
Yeah, caught him, in fact, a bit of body contact, but the Corvette was on the outside. There's the contact, sort of a snooker ball effect, and put the Corvette into position. That's a racing incident. No one's going to complain about it.
But where is... And look, here comes Riquelme. Here comes Stefan Riquelme. Car 28 must pit for repairs, says Race Control. So that's an interesting one that Race Control have decided to...
Well, they've determined the championship.
Yeah. 5.5 minutes to go, and the 28 Bleekemolen project car has been told to come into the pits for repairs because of the problems. There is Gottfried Grasser. He is going to be the man on the lollipop. And that car will come in, but what can they do to it, really, apart from, you know, get some gaffer tape and tape it all down, or rip it all off?
Well, take it all off, but there's, you know, there were 5 minutes of the race remaining, so nothing that the team are going to be able to do other than any part that is obviously insecure. They can just try and put gaffer tape on it, but there's so much there. It is the gaffer tape, they've got it ready, but there's so much of the bodywork in the front of the car that it's all sort of...
It's not a flapping part, is it? It's the whole front of the car.
Body section, the carbon fiber body section, is actually detached. So how you attach it, reattach it with gaffer tape and hope it's going to stay in place. But all that's going to happen is Harry Procek's falling down the standings. He's going to be out of the points, but he is out of the points in effect by the time the next 3 cars come past the start-finish line.
What a disaster for the Grasser Racing team. They stick on a bit of tape.
There we are.
Through goes Max Buch and Max Goetz. That doesn't really matter because that's just a 9th position now for Buch and Goetz. It's still not enough for them to score points, but the Grasser team needed to finish in the top 4 to keep the championship hopes alive going into the final race.
There's no chance. There's no chance. Unfortunately, the decision to bring the car in for safety reasons, and there was a safety not just for the 28 car, but for the rest of the field. So the car goes out, but I mean, all Harry Procek can do is drive and hope that some miracle upon miracle is going to work in their favour. But where they will come back out at the end of this lap, it's going to be outside the top 10.
16th position as they come down into the chicane, and that means that it's almost certain that Max Goetz is about to become the Blancpain Sprint Series champion of 2014, because he is going to have an unassailable gap. Frustration for the Lamborghini squad. The bodywork's still going to be shaking.
Yeah, you can see the vibration in it, and that's not going to be pleasant to drive either.
But there is René Rast, who's running in 3rd place. A strong performance from him and Enzo Eid to climb up the order. It'll be interesting to see what they can do in the main race when that comes up later on this afternoon. 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Cesar Ramos is storming forward in the lead of this race, so we're going to get a couple of championships decided in this qualifying race by the looks of things. It seems that WRT and Laurens Vanthoor are going to become overall Blancpain GT Series champions. And it also seems as though Maximilian Goetz is going to win. Oh, and that's a problem for Lucas Wolf. After a strong drive, he's pulled to the side of the road, and that looks like mechanical issues at turn 9. There is Harry Projik being lapped now by Cesar Ramos around the outside as Ramos heads towards starting his penultimate lap. There's Jeroen Bleekemolen in the pits. Frustration for Bleekemolen. Vanthoor is looking reasonably emotionless at the moment, but Cesar Ramos comes over the line to start the penultimate lap of an eventful qualifying race. Johnny Adams up into second place and is lapping 0.4 of a second quicker than Ramos in front. So is there a final twist in this qualifying race tale? Can Johnny Adam close in? Now we're looking at the battle with Daniel Kielwitz and Chris van der Drift as they come to lap the 888 BMW. Kielwitz is pretty close to the back of Van der Drift, looks to the inside line, manages to get past the 888 car, now in the hands of Ryan Ratcliffe, but running down in 18th position. There you can see the standings, the top 4 have come through. It's an Audi 134 with an Aston Martin sandwiched in the middle. Through the final corner, there's the Russian Racing GT car in the hands of Alexei Vasiliev, that's down in 19th position. And that's one of the back-marking Mercedes as they come out now, down towards turn 3 once more. This is still the battle over 7th place and well, ultimately 6th, because Nicky Meyer-Melnhof isn't too far up the road either. And that Lucas Wolf seems to have made his way actually into the barriers there, which is an interesting one. But there's the second place car, Johnny Adam. Fastest first sector of anyone. Middle sector was quite strong as well, but there's our race leader, Cesar Ramos, coming over the line to start the final lap of the race. Johnny Adam closes the gap to 1.9 seconds, but that's going to be a one to watch in the main race later on. If they're starting on the front row of the grid, that Andy Soucek, Johnny Adam, Beechstein, Aston could be very, very feisty indeed as Ramos comes down into the left-hander of turn 3. I don't think there's quite enough time, is there, for Johnny Adam to close in unless we get some bizarre goings-on with the Corvette that they're about to come and lap. And there is Laurens Vanthoor. He, at the top of the overall Blancpain GT drivers' standings, has a 23-point lead over Maximilian Buch. There's 24 points needs to be the gap, and he is going to extend that advantage by 8 points. So it'll be Laurens Vanthoor who will take victory in the overall Blancpain GT series. And the same will be true of the Belgian Audi club. We're on board with Johnny Adam, down to the hairpin for the final time. Up the hill they come towards the final chicane. Cesar Ramos flashes through the final chicane into the left-hander of turn 13, and he is going to take victory and win the qualifying race for him and the overall Blancpain GT Series title for Laurens Vanthoor. Great drive from Ramos and Vanthoor.
Now we won on Sunday.
And now he says we want to win on Sunday because it's been so often they've won the qualifying race. Across the line comes Stefan Rakelmi, 3rd place for he and Stefan Otelli after Johnny Adam and Andy Soucek finish in 2nd place. 4th place is going to be René Rast after a really strong drive from the German to climb through the order. 5th place across the line is going to be Martin Raginger. There is Andy Soucek. 2nd place, he's happy with that. A couple of 5ths in Zolder 2 weeks ago. There across the line is the Fortec, then Raginger in 5th. 6th is Meyer-Melnhof, 7th Vervish, who holds off Kielwitz, but 9th, and out of the final corner comes Maximilian Goetz in the HTP Mercedes to win the Blancpain Sprint Series title. He is the Blancpain Sprint Series champion of 2014. A superb performance from Max Goetz. He's won GT in national racing championships in the past, won the German GT championship a couple of years ago. But now he has the Blancpain Sprint Series title to add to his collection, and he is over the moon. In 2003, he won the German Formula BMW Championship, where he beat Sebastian Vettel. The year before, he'd finished second in that championship as runner-up to Nico Rosberg. That tells you the sort of quality this man has. He can't quite believe it. It didn't matter that Max Buch took half his rear wing off for him. He still managed to come back and win the Blancpain Sprint Series title. Effectively, you have to say, for him and Max Buch, whilst they will not be champions together, they will most likely end up first and second in the championship. But it was just that one race that Max Buch had to miss in Slovakia. If he hadn't done that, he'd have been celebrating with him right now. But there's Cesar Ramos, the Brazilian with a very strong drive. A high five with Laurens Vanthoor. And they pose for some photographs. It's not exactly the way we wanted the championship to end, really, with both cars struggling, but that's what happens, and that was always threatening to be the case in a field of 30 incredibly strong cars. There's Johnny Adam and Andy Soucek having a chat after their second place finish. And that means they'll start on the front row of the grid. So we can now hear from Laurens Vanthoor, who's down with John.
Laurens Vanthoor, congratulations. You got a big prize today.
Yeah, it's the fourth time we win the qualifying race, so this time, really, I hope it's a long time now, that we win the championship race and we can bring the check home. And I think before the weekend started, I was not so positive about the general championship, but now I'm 15 points from Buch, and they finished 8th or 9th, so it's still possible. So I'll try to make that happen.
Okay, Cesar, come in. Great drive. Oh, where you are. Great drive. Tell your story.
Yeah, it's first time here around Baku. Car is really good. We didn't have much track time yesterday because of the rain. So on the dry, I was not so comfortable still, but still I did a good race. I managed to pass the Lamborghini when I needed to. And at the end, I just controlled the gap to the Aston, who is really quick, but I think we are ready to fight them in the main race.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies, Laurens Vanthoor is not the overall Blancpain GT Series champion. It's still Maxi Buch who's heading that championship at the moment, but Vanthoor is closing in on that. The WRT team are still looking strong in that championship, but that was my fault. I got that one wrong. We can now hear from our second place drivers from the Aston Martin there with John.
Andy Soucek, great second place. You must be very happy.
I am one of the happiest men in the world. I think the second happiest right now, but the one that counts is the third race, the second race, which is going to be later on. So we have to work out how we can beat these guys.
You've got a quick car. I mean, you could see coming through 13, you're all over the back of some of the other cars.
Yeah, we have a good car. I mean, Aston is really doing a good job. Beach Dean is really improving the car every session we do, and I think we both did a pretty good job. Johnny did an incredible last stint, so now it's about to win only one car, but that car is quite fast and it has also two very good drivers.
Johnny seemed very busy in the first half of the race. You had to make some passes to get your second place.
Yes, once the race settled down, it was getting a rhythm. And for me, this is my first time at Baku and on a street circuit as well. So, yeah, I've been taught a lot from Andy this weekend, and it's been put into practice there in the race.
Nice to be at the front of the grid, just clear air.
It is, you know, we had good pace. You know, the Audi was in front, we were slowly but surely chipping the gap down to the Audi. But, yeah, starting on the front row for the main race, I think we've got a good chance of at least a podium.
Thank you.
So, great result for them. Second place finish. The gap at the top of the overall GT drivers is down to 15 points. Max Buch leading Laurens Vanthoor. So again, apologies for that. It's still going to go down to the wire, that one. But Maximilian Goetz is the Blancpain Sprint Series champion. And because the Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Procek had to finish in the top 4 to even have a chance of taking the title to the final round. And we can now hear as you can see, Max Goetz getting ready, and we can hear from him.
Family are here. Put your glasses on. We're going to talk to you. Congratulations. What do you feel?
It's amazing. It's my second title in third year. If you see the car, it's a wonder that we survived till the end. We took the 9th place today, but overall, yeah, I won, so it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
So, I mean, when you saw the contact that Max Buch had with the wall, the rear wing, almost half the rear wing is gone. I mean, how much more difficult was it to drive?
Very, very difficult, because in here in fast corners I lost a lot of aero, so I must let 5 pass me. So it was really on the edge to drive, and I tried to hold the car on track to get a good position, starting position for the main race now. So it was really difficult, and yeah, it was really hard.
But you can relax in the main race. It's all done. Just enjoy it.
Yes, it's true, but we want also to be on the podium and finish the season with a nice check. So yeah, we try everything. We push now to prepare the car for main race, and for sure we want finish the season with a podium.
Now, Max Buch's done a great job supporting you, but are you going to have a little word with him after what he did?
Yeah, so yeah, it could be happen, you know, it's racing, and he tried everything to gain places, and yeah, he got a contact to the wall. It's in the narrow part of the track, so yeah, could be happen, but yeah, should not. And now we try everything to be good in the main race.
Well, Sprint Car champion, enjoy it. Congratulations.
Thanks to you guys. Good.
He's been cool as a cucumber all year as Max Goetz. Even in, we interviewed him in Zolder and said, you know, are you feeling the pressure? He said, pressure? What pressure? There's no pressure. I don't feel any pressure. But now you can see the release of that pressure, I suppose, as he takes the overall Blancpain Sprint Series title for drivers. And the Silver Cup is still going to go down to the wire, and the battle as well for the team's title in Blancpain Sprint is going to be close as well, because with Audi taking a win and HTP not, the gap is down to just 2 points there. Here's a look at the overall results then after that race. Cesar Ramos and Laurence Vanthor taking victory and closing in the overall Blancpain GT Series title. Johnny Adam and Andy Soucek finishing in second place ahead of Stefan Rakelmi and Stefan Ortelli. René Rast doing well to climb up into 4th position, he and Enzo Eid. Raginger and Holzer in 5th place in the Porsche. Van der Drift and Verbies there in 7th place. 9th place for Max Goetz and Max Buch, but that's enough to seal the Blancpain Sprint Series title for Max Goetz. Sferifico twins completing the top 10. There we can see the Zaxby car finished in 13th place, then the second of the 2 Callaway Corvettes, which started in 22nd and 24th place and finished in 8th and 14th, so a good result for them. Harry Projik and Jeroen Bleekemolen finished in 15th position. That's a real shame. You can see here that the number 4 and 34 cars that are doing battle in the Silver Cup didn't make it to the end of the race. Also, shame to lose Christopher Mees because he was running strongly. Alex Zanardi was punted into the wall by Alvaro Parent in the early stages. And then just to complete the 26 men who managed to complete a lap, Fuminelli and Colombo out of the race, Paludo and Stumpf out of the race as well. And we lost Dusseldorp and Dominic Baumann on the first lap. And you can see the Crystal Hall in the background, the host of the Eurovision Song Contest a couple of years ago. And the streets of Azerbaijan have once again proved that they lend themselves to some very exciting racing. No doubt about that, and hopefully we'll go out with a bang in the final race of the season a little bit later on, which of course we will be bringing you full coverage of, so make sure you join us for that. Maximilian Goetz at the top of the championship, and he has got 8 points more than we see here, so he is now on 150 points, which means that Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Projik are insurmountable because they have stayed on 115 points. So it's 150 at the top of the championship for Max Goetz, it's 115 for Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Projik in that battle that has ended today in the Blancpain Sprint Series as far as the drivers are concerned.
Yeah, I'm walking back just past the Grasser Racing Garage, Harry Projik and Jeroen Bleekemolen. Jeroen, you can see his face, they've worked so hard with this car, they've had a great car, had a great season. And as Harry Projik found out, and as Jeroen Bleekemolen explained, that it is an aggressive circuit, you run the curbs, and that's the cost of running the curbs.
But everyone's running the curbs, and not everyone's car's fallen apart.
No, but as Breakable said, other cars may be engineered in a different fashion. It's not just that every car's identical. They all run very low ride heights. It's how those body parts are attached, and if the attachment is maybe less secure than on some of the other competitors. You've seen there's only is the Lamborghini here. Everybody else manages to attach the bodywork, but it's been an aggressive circuit.
So there we can see the big Azerbaijani flag that parades over the city here in Baku, and it's where the podium is being held underneath. So no points for either of our top championship challengers, meaning the gap is 27 points, meaning it's insurmountable going into the final race of the season. There you can see the podium being prepared, and the drivers will be heading up onto the podium in a few moments' time. It's a little way away from the paddock, so they've got to make their way there, and it's been a very entertaining race out there, and as we saw last year, John, very entertaining, the Baku street circuit.
I mean, it's a great street track because it's a quick street track. You've got these slow sections coming into turn 4. We saw the incident here in the opening lap where the BMW it cut through the inside of the corner to avoid what was going to be a log jam at the apex, and then the consequence of that, he got slammed by Steph Duffel's Mercedes, which had been tagged by the Zaxby's Mercedes coming out of turn 4. Street tracks, the narrowness of it and the unforgiving nature of the concrete barriers are something that racing drivers, they have to learn to live with and adapt to. It's not like racing on open, permanent circuits, very wide open spaces.
So let's have a look back at the action here in Azerbaijan. On the way down to the first corner, everyone pretty much behaved themselves and kept, to a certain extent, their grid order. Andy Soucek managed to get up into 4th place, getting past Frederic Vervish, but apart from that, everyone else was safely through. But then it all kicked off here. Joe Osborne threw it down the inside, made contact with the Mercedes, which then made contact with another Mercedes, and the end result was Dominic Baumann in the concrete, unfortunately. And let's have another look at that. There was Osborne making the contact, and then just out of shot to the left-hand side, they all ended up in the barriers. There was also a moment for Matej Stumpf, who was spun around at the top of the circuit, and he had to retire after that particular incident a little bit later on once the race got going again. So turn 7, not a happy hunting ground. This was a key moment in the race. Maximilian Buch losing majority of his rear wing by tapping the wall on the outside. Zanardi lost most of his front end after being pushed into the wall by Alvaro Parentes down at the hairpin.
The car was still actually being driven. I mean, you can see he's trying to grab clutch because the car is still on throttle and is pushing its way just to the end. Here's the pit stop. And 3/4 of the rear wing on the car did make it difficult for Maximilian Götz when he went back out, but the damage had been done. Consolidated, finished in the end in that 9th place, and everything worked their favour ultimately.
There were some of the race leaders lapping the back markers, and that in the end cost them as Jeroen Bleekemolen and Harry Prochek emerged in the lead of the race. How things change in motor racing. And look, the car looks pretty secure there as they lost the lead to Cesar Ramos, and they were still looking pretty comfortable in that 2nd position. And Johnny Adam was starting to make his way up the order, but then Max Götz, with all that loss of downforce, started to slide back through the field, and there he lost out to the Porsche of Martin Raginger, who then went around the outside of Chris van der Drift at the left-hander up towards the right-hand turn, but then it all started to break away for the Lamborghini.
Yes, I mean, it's just shedding bodywork, literally. They went into the pits and all they could do was put tape on it, but by which time everything had gone. A little bit of contact towards the end of the race, the Corvette sliding by the Mercedes.
Oh, and there was a big spin then, so we didn't see that, but it was the win for Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor. Johnny Adam finished 2nd, but Maximilian Götz took victory and the Blancpain Sprint Series title. He will be racing again in the main race later on. Make sure you join us. There on the top step of the podium, Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor. for the Belgian Audi club. A good result for them. A great result as well for Johnny Adam and Andy Soucek. With a third-place finish for Stefan Rakelmi and Stefan Ortelli, as they take victory in Azerbaijan. And it was a good drive from both Van Voort and Ramos, and they played the pit stops perfectly to get out in the lead. And they celebrate, and Ortelli and Rakelmi reasonably happy with third, but when you start in the lead...
Yes, I mean, that'll be a disappointment. I mean, still getting a podium, but consider the great job that Ortelli did in qualifying, and then to find themselves in third place. And again, Cesar Ramos, Lawrence Van Voort. Normally, Van Voort, you look at being the hot rod in the Audi WRT setup. He is the winner of the race.
So that was the Pro Cup podium. And as far as the Silver Cup is concerned, it was in the end Miguel Toril and Benji Hetherington who won the Silver Cup, finishing down in 16th place because the other Silver Cup runners ran into trouble. And there is Ortelli and Rakelmi making their way away. There onto the top step then Benji Hetherington and Miguel Toril. Ryan Ratcliffe and Joe Osborne, despite a drive-through penalty, managed to finish in second place. Lucas Wolf and Lucas Stoltz, despite running into trouble towards the end of the race, ended up finishing third in the Silver Cup. Graham Fraser from Fortec making his way onto the podium as well. And we also had the Pro-Am winner, which was the GT Russian team, Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma, taking victory in the Pro-Am Cup as well. And Klaus Schmidt there from the GT Russian team making his way. But on the top step of the podium, it's the British Fortec team. The British national anthem for Fortec Motorsport as they take victory for the first time in the Silver Cup in the Blancpain Sprint Series. Benji Hetherington and Miguel Toril standing on the top step. And they presents the trophy to Lucas Wolf and Lucas Stoltz, who broke down, then got going again, and then had that big spin towards the end of the race. So it looked as though they'd embedded themselves in the tyre barriers. Second place for Ryan Ratcliffe and Joe Osborne for Triple Eight Racing. Great to have them in the championship, and hopefully they're talking about doing the full season next year, so that would be good to see. But our Silver Cup winners, Benji Hetherington and Miguel Toril, which means that the championship fight will go down to tomorrow between Mateusz Lisowski and Stefano Colombo, and they will start in 22nd and 25th places respectively. So that battle is still to continue. Graham receives his trophy. And then just the Pro-Am winners to go. Over there on the right-hand side, Alexei Vasiliev and Marco Asma. Vasiliev on the left, the Estonian Marco Asma on the right-hand side, as they take victory in the Pro-Am class. But the majority of the Blancpain Sprint Series are pro cars.
Manager of the GT Russian team. Congratulations, Klaus Schmidt.
There is Klaus Schmidt, the team manager of the GT Russian team. Trophies held aloft here in Azerbaijan on the podium. And now it's time for the champagne for the Silver Cup drivers. Miguel Toril and Benji Hetherington, the victors in Silver Cup. Can they repeat that feat later on today? You'll have to join us to find out. It's been a very entertaining first qualifying race here in Azerbaijan. The overall race winning going to Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor. They'll start on pole position later on. Make sure you join us.